Hey y'all, Flyer444 here, and if you're watching this video, then chances are you've either heard about or played Overwatch. The open beta closed a few days ago, and we're all counting down the days until the game releases officially, which should be on the 24th. As a bit of a distraction, I've been putting out random remixes of the trailers that have been released to music that I personally like, you know, Steven's Crossfire, Pegboard Nerds, Heroes, the FatRats, The Calling. So all of the links to that stuff are in the description below. You should check them out. At least listen to the music if you don't like my editing. Yeah. So after spending a couple hours on each video remixing the same clips over and over again, I stumbled across a couple of interesting little tidbits, but one little consistency caught my eye, which I think was pretty interesting. Now, as most of you know, especially if you follow me, I only have a couple of subs, so not too many. Please like and subscribe, you know, that whole spiel. I really love the sniper class. I've over 1,000 hours on it in TF2. During the open beta, I dropped over 16 hours on sniper out of a total of 24, which was more than enough to familiarize myself with the character, the mechanics, and the general feel of the game as playing sniper. That being said, I did find myself wondering what other mechanics snipers could have in the game besides just having essentially a grappling hook, an ult that gives you wall hacks, and a little gas claymore, and, you know, a primary sniper rifle and a secondary SMG. And after reading up on Widowmaker's lore, I got kind of interested in the Overwatch story as a whole, specifically focusing on Widowmaker and her interactions with the group Overwatch and the group Talon. So here's what we know. This is just a little blurb from the Overwatch wiki. It is believed that in her former life, Widowmaker was married to Gerard LaCroix, an Overwatch agent spearheading operations against the Talon terrorist organization. After several unsuccessful attempts to eliminate Gerard, Talon decided to change its focus to his wife Emile. Talon operatives kidnapped her and subjected her to an intense program of neural reconditioning that broke her will, suppressed her personality, and reprogrammed her as a sleeper agent. She was eventually found by Overwatch agents, apparently none the worse for the wear, and returned to her normal life. 2 weeks later, she killed Gerard in his sleep. Her mission complete, Emile returned to Talon, and they completed the process of turning her into a living weapon. She was given extensive training in the covert arts. Her physiology was altered, drastically slowing her heart, which turned her skin cold and blue, and numbed her ability to experience human emotion. Emile was gone, replaced by Widowmaker, Talon's most effective assassin, and feeling little save the satisfaction of a job well done. So, from what I've read in reaction to this, opinions on her lore seem to be split down the middle, with some saying that it's a little too dark, some having problems with the morality of controlling a shell of a person which doesn't have free will, some think that her backstory and attitude don't fit her sniper's persona, some think that she's, you know, too sexy, and there's a whole lot of things going on with Tracer that I don't want to get into right now. Personally, I don't think that the lore is too extreme. I think that it kind of makes the backstory a little darker and more realistic, adds a little bit of depth to the overall universe. Although I am a little bit curious as to see why a bad guy or bad guys like Reaper and Widowmaker appear grouped in right next to the heroes of the story in a couple of the trailers at the very end. But I digress. So, we never really get to see who Gerard LaCroix is in the trailers, and apart from being Widowmaker's husband, he doesn't seem to have that much influence on the game or the universe. However, it can be presumed, just from a tactical standpoint, that if one of Overwatch's main enemies, you know, Talon, has a lethal trained sniper at ready to be used as a weapon, Overwatch probably wanted to have a counter sniper of their own. So for those of you who argue that Overwatch already has a counter sniper, Hanzo, McCree, etc., I'd like to point out that Genji was the only brother of the two, of Hanzo and McCree, recruited into Overwatch after nearly being killed by his brother Hanzo. Hanzo, although one of the main quote-unquote snipers in the game, according to the champion selection, was never actually part of Overwatch. His brother, who was turned into a ninja cyborg warrior thing after Mercy had her way with him, was. McCree, on the other hand, has a pistol which can shoot pretty accurately and at pretty long range, and is very annoying for annoying snipers if people know how to play McCree. But even in the game, even an effective McCree, the game recognizes that he falls off against dedicated sharpshooters, especially at a distance. So this brings me back to my point, that interesting little tidbit I found while working on syncing the trailers up to the music. So in the animated short, specifically in Recall, the Are You With Us trailer, the Soldier 76 backstory, we see several glimpses of what appear to be an Overwatch equivalent of Talon's Widowmaker. Now, as you can see, this appears to be an Egyptian woman with a marking over the left eye, and she appears consistently among the main characters of Overwatch, which is quite interesting. We're all used to seeing the blue berets of random Overwatch, extras, people who were involved in Overwatch but aren't really part of the story. But when someone consistently shows up with the main characters, for instance, in this scene, she's seen right with Reaper, Soldier 76, Mercy, Winston, Tracer, Reinhardt, McCree, So at the very least, she's important to the lore, but she could be, and this is what I'm hoping, she could be a counter to Widowmaker or a future sniper that will be released into the game. So upon closer inspection, we can see that the marking over that left eye is actually an Eye of Horus, an Egyptian symbol, which after a quick Google search reveals that it's meant to be symbolizing protection, royal power, and good health. Now this is similar to Pharah's tattoo. She has the same Eye of Horus tattoo, except Pharah's tattoo is on the right eye instead of the left. The placement and symbolism, however, makes sense. A sniper whose role was to protect her teammates from enemies, like Widowmaker, etc., could have easily gotten a tattoo of the Eye of Horus to symbolize the protector status of the team. So Pharah probably, has the same deal going on with the tattoo. She, soars above with her little Raptora jetpack type deal and rains rockets on the enemies like a little guardian angel. So, she can have a Horus tattoo as well. But this brings me to another interesting point, the relationship between this mystery character and Pharah. The woman we see in these shorts, clad in blue, could be Pharah's mom. Both have at least some tie to Egyptian culture. Both have the same Eye of Horus tattoo. Both wear blue clothes. Pharah wears blue armor. She wears blue stuff, presumably. The counter sniper wears blue stuff, presumably. And both are seen as guardians of their teams. To cement this theory further, in Pharah's lore, there's this little tidbit about her mother. So, as a child, Pharah dreamed of following in her mother's footsteps and joining the global peacekeeping force Overwatch. She enlisted in the Egyptian army, and her dogged persistence and tactical prowess caused her to rise up through the officer ranks. She was a courageous leader and earned the loyalty of all who served under her. With her exemplary record, Pharah was well placed to join the ranks of Overwatch, but before she had that opportunity, Overwatch was disbanded. So this could mean that the person in the clips was actually Pharah's mother, who she wanted to follow in footsteps, but before she had the opportunity to, Overwatch was essentially blown up. This is what I'm hoping for. This could mean that we see a sniper specifically made to counter Widowmaker in the future. That being said, let's look into what her possible abilities are. When you look into the clips, the counter sniper, who I'm gonna start calling Lefty, even though she's right-handed, but she has, that tattoo over that left eye, is using this kind of whip deal as a weapon. As seen in the Are You With Us scene, where she's on top of an Omnicron attacker or a robot attacker, she uses her whip, not unlike Widowmaker's grappling hook, to do some damage to this robot that she's fighting with. Both Widowmaker and this new sniper here apparently use grappling hooks or some kind of rope device in their left hand, but Lefty's use of the whip is a lot more interesting in these scenes because it leads to this possible interesting mechanic of, instead of having a kind of a fairly long distance grappling hook that just slingshots you up to places and kind of, does no damage whatsoever, we might be seeing a short range, low cooldown version of Widowmaker's grappling hook that does damage if you hit a person with it, which will lead to a very interesting mechanic. Now obviously the cooldown would have to be a lot shorter than Widowmaker's grappling hook in order to justify the loss of range and also to give this counter sniper Lefty the same mobility that Widowmaker would have. Essentially, you'd be able to grappling hook shorter distances, but you'd be able to grapple more often, which kind of, evens out that score. On to primary weapons, Lefty appears to have a much larger permanent sniper rifle that doesn't appear to be able to collapse into an SMG like Widowmaker's. That's where the whip comes in. I'm thinking that instead of having a secondary weapon, Lefty, or this counter sniper, would be able to use her whip to kind of whittle down opponents at close range and then finish them off with either a quick scope or a no scope using her sniper rifle. If I'm right about this, that could make for some amazing plays you could whip someone, then grapple up to a ceiling, and then, you know, tap, tap, tap with your sniper rifle. But because the sniper rifle is not able to convert into an SMG and would probably have very low accuracy unscoped, what I think is going to happen, especially if this is actually a real thing, if Lefty is actually going to be implemented, is that the charge rate for the amp up charge to get to that full damage output like you have to wait for on Widowmaker would probably be a lot more fast, like it would charge a lot faster, or the base damage would be a lot higher, because this is a permanent sniper rifle instead of something that can convert into a secondary weapon very quickly. In conclusion, we may have a hardcore whip-toting sniper coming our way, which could hopefully have interesting duels with Widowmaker, as well as adding a very cool new mechanic to the game, as well as adding a lot to the Overwatch's lore. So that's all from me. Leave a comment in the section below if you think I'm right, if you think I'm wrong, if you think Lefty would be a really cool addition to the game, or if you think that she should just be kept in the lore. This is me, Flyer444, wishing y'all the best of luck out there until Overwatch comes out again. Peace out.